Okay, I'll check to see if I've got some vocal, and I do. Had a little bit of a snafu today. I accidentally erased I accidentally erased the meeting data over at Zoom, so I had to come in and create a new meeting for you guys, and I didn't realize it till just a while ago. So I'm sure there's some of you who will be joining me here a little bit later. And no big deal about that. You will see the recording and it will be done. I want to do some housekeeping, if you will, and just where we're at and what's going on. And again, my apologies. I went out and what happened was I just accidentally hit. I guess I started this meeting and then finished and then canceled it, and so. And then I used the one for 11:23 today, and it happens. And frankly, when I went over to Zoom today, just a few minutes ago, I saw it. So I've sent everybody an email. Okay, told you use this one with the new data, with the new meeting. I've put that in the announcements, so there would be no question. Now, I may or may not have some of you show up. Gosh, I don't know. I hope I do. I usually have one or two, maybe three of you show up. But if I don't, I can understand that we're moving to that part of the course. And frankly, it's a beautiful day, and I can't blame you. You're young people, and you want to enjoy your lives. And obviously, you can watch this later on. Now, I want to go through where we are at this point in the course. Okay, so we're going to go down to, and I think we are at. I think we're at week. I did Control F, and I think we're at week. I think we're at week 10. I think we're at week 11. Yep, I was right. No, week 10. And here we are. Today is the 12th, and obviously we're at week 10. Okay. Now you have some work to upload. One is BI number 1 from page 25, text number 3. That's the business intelligence textbook, and you had to do the exercise over there, and that's due today. It's 20 points. Okay, and then you had lunches database 10, 11, and 12 are due today. Okay, and then I had some code for you to use for 1611 over on page 619. Okay, and we'll come back and visit that. And I've got some different kinds of things here for you as well to take a look at. And so we are here, of course, at week number 10. Now, you should have done 10, 11, and 12. Those should be uploaded, okay? And 13, 14, and 15 should be uploaded. And next week, of course, is BI number, and that's number 5 on page 75, and you should upload that. These are, and then the internet access. These are some things there for you to do using the business intelligence text, okay? And that's a piece of the course that I significantly want to improve. I'm going to go over and open the door up a little bit better. In the event that I have some people come by, okay? But you're here on the screencast and you shouldn't be having any problems whatsoever. So I sent an email with the new invitation. I said, use this one. I posted that in the announcements. I said, use this one. So you should be good to go, okay? And I apologize about that again. Now, we're going to work today on lunches database 16, okay? And we're going to, here's what we have left. We have 16, 17, and 18 in terms of the databases. Now, if you go over to the contents over there at a glance, okay, that's over on page Roman numeral 7, which is the V and a little v and 2 little I. You'll see 16, 17, and 18 deal with cross joins, self joins, and cross tab queries. putting tables, combining tables in a production database, and then if then, and then conditional queries, parameter queries, and subqueries. Okay, so we'll move through these. All right, and this will, I probably, I'm going to try to get 150 minutes for us for this week. Probably will do. It's very likely, okay, that I'm going to do at least, 60 to 75 minutes tonight, and then we'll go on from there. Now, again, here's what you've got to do. Hi, and I apologize again. Just had Abigail come in. Apologize about the snafu on the invitation, because I eliminated our invitation today. So when you see one, it says in your email, or at the announcements it says use this one. I knocked our original invitation out today by accident, but you have one to come in and join me, so we're good to go. Now, that's what we've got going on in terms of the homework that's due. But we've got again, if you go over and you look at the contents at a glance, we have database, lunches database 16, 17, and 18, and we're done. Now, we're not going to cover 19 for the simple reason that it talks about the multi-user environment, which is really more taking you into the issues dealing with a database administrator, which none of you are going to do, although you will often become their best friend. And then chapter 20 deals with the design of SQL, okay? And we've gone through this so much and we've talked about it so much, I don't think it's necessary really for you to do too much with it. Then if you look at this is the contents at a glance in the textbook, the little Roman numeral 7, okay? You'll see there's a thing that says 20 and then A, Oracle's free, and then the B, the quick start with Oracle, okay? And you will have, if you wish, an alternative exercise to, if you have your own machine, to download and work with Oracle, okay? And you can do so. Now, I want to talk about what we've got going on because we've done 13, 14, 15, okay? These two exercises are due next week, all right? We have, let's see, this week we've done 10, 11, 12, and then you, of course, have the business intelligence text, those little exercises to work through, all right? Now, I've not really spent a lot of time dealing with dashboard design, okay, which has now kind of become a piece of a data admin course for the simple reason I think with all the courses you take with us, that it's going to be pretty intuitive, and the commercial products out there for dashboards are fairly sophisticated and extremely user friendly. What I'm more concerned with is that you understand the what's underneath there and how it gets there, and how when you're working, say, at a certain level, your dashboard has certain elements versus another level, etc. And we've talked about that, and that, of course, is that data cube, okay? The analytic cube, I call it. And so I don't see any great need to go through some more of that, but I do have some resources here for you to take a look at, okay? Now, I want to talk about what's going to be coming up on the 26th of April. I have for you, all of you, a set of check your understanding instructions. These are and a set of exercises. As you go through the chapters in the text, you're going to see that it will say, okay, here's a way to check your understanding, and it will give you a task and then ask you to read and then to write some code. And I'll open that up for just a sec. Okay? And you'll see it. Now, here are what you'll be working on. Okay? And I'm going to ask you to upload the database Canvas and a Microsoft Word document that includes print screens documenting your work, okay, preferably a result set for each CYU. So you can see them, okay? So I want you. So you're going to upload an Access file in Canvas. You're also going to you'll need to create a fresh database and then import any necessary objects from the Patrick files Canvas. As you can see, each of these are from different chapters. All right. You may want to just take the whole. If you want to take the whole if you want to take that whole database, I'm fine. Okay, rather than messing around with the objects that you need. And so this is the check your understanding assignments. And so I want you to upload the database, and then I want a Word doc that shows me the print screens documenting your work. So you have two options. One, you could, if you wish, take everything, take all the tables that are relevant to that check your understanding and import them into a fresh database and do that and just build the thing. Or what I would do is I would take the full database, okay, and you say, what are you talking about? What I mean is we'll go over here and the Access SQL for the specific chapters, okay, we've got that. And then of course you want the SQL fund, and we'll find that. Here it is. And it'll have all of these objects, okay, that you'll need. So I give you an option of creating a brand new Access file and importing the objects that you need for each one of these check your understandings, or just simply do the queries on that full database, okay? And that's up to you. I've had some challenge students in the past who said, oh, I want to do a fresh database and load my stuff. Okay, if you want to do that, fine. Others who've said, no, I would prefer to take the objects, like all these tables and stuff that are already in here, and use those. That's up to you, okay? But these are, and I'll start, for example, with page 41, okay? And in the middle of page 41, there's a check your understanding. It says, list the description and price of all of the foods. Change the name of the description column to food _ item, and the name of the price column to cost. Okay, so there's you're gonna be obviously working with the foods table, okay, and you'll perform what you're asked to do there in the middle of page 41. That's to check your understanding. Okay, you're going to find examples around there, and you'll probably want to go back and look at when you've uploaded when there's stuff there for two. But I think, let me say this, there will be some times when it will be easier for you to deal with stuff in the design view as opposed to the SQL view, okay? And so each check your understanding is embedded in a chapter, all right? And these get progressively a little more wicked as we go along, okay? So that's one assignment coming up that you'll be doing. Now, what I'm going to try to do, if I possibly can, is to get through 16, 17, and 18 quickly enough, okay, that I can just let you have the flex time. The 26th, you do officially start in flex time. I'm not going to have any class. I won't hold any class. Here's what I'll do, okay? I'll be online. So if somebody has a question, I can answer it and try to help them out. I might just quickly go through and say, okay, here's what we're doing here, here's what I'm after, but basically it won't be like a regular class schedule. If you've had classes with me in the past, as we come down near the end of the semester, I like to give you a project to work on so you can do some independent study. Now, another thing we're going to, an opportunity to have is to work with SAS Visual Analytics. And I'll give you, I have a whole set of instructions for you there to use that product, okay? And this is really a bit, I think having some familiarity with SAP, and particularly SAS, okay, is very, very helpful for you. And there's nothing here that's terribly impossible. Just follow the instructions. Now, what I would do is if I were you, I'd print these out, okay, and have them, or if you got, you know, a small machine and then a large one, do it like that. But this is just simply one of these things where I have you kind of do a tour through it and do some work. Now, I'm going to ask you to, I've got a set, you know, to upload here. This is from, pardon me, set number 2. There are 4 sets that I want you to upload, okay? And I'll just go ahead and get these in order. There's 1, 2. There we go. And set 1, set 2, set 3, and set 4. What you'll be doing is creating a series of what they call BISS or visualizations, and you're going to be using SAS's database and then doing some work with creating some representations of data. And I think once you get in there and you work with it, you're going to find it's pretty easy. And it's a pretty powerful tool. It's pretty cool. So I think you'll find that. I think it'll be beneficial for you, because when you sit down with an employer, you will be able to say, yes, I have worked with SAS. I'm somewhat familiar with it, because I kind of give you a tour through it. Now, that being said, again, this is a week where, okay, I'm going to be just hanging around. People have questions, but I'm not going to be teaching class, okay? And I'm going to get us here as well, okay? So that's why I was saying 16, 17, and 18, I'm going to try to get us through that get through those as fast as possible. And I do believe we're almost at the point now with a lot of these where I could just simply say, do 16, and you ought to be able to work through it. But there's some things in each of these chapters I want to show you before we go. Now, there is an extra credit opportunity. Okay, and I've got some, and it says see the instructions in the file. So this is one of those situations where you're going to need to navigate over to the files section in Canvas. Okay, and then let's see, should be some extra credit instructions. And there you go, extra credit instructions document. Okay, and so if you want to do some extra credit work, it's there for you to do. I'll open it up real quickly and let everybody see what we're talking. Download it, excuse me. All right, you say, oh, more check your understandings. Yes, these are a little bit more difficult, a little bit more of a challenge, but they're worth 45 points if you get them done. Okay? All right, now we'll move on through this, because this is, I'm at the point now where I really, really do want to. I see that now. I'm just going to Control F. This is week 11, I think. Yep, there we go. Oh, week 12, 10. Keep wanting to jump ahead of myself. Okay, now let's come down. So I've given you these. Here's a project, the Check Your Understanding. Okay, if you want to do the Oracle assignment, you can do that as an alternative, but you don't have to do it. Okay, this is an alternative. That's why I said it's an alternative. There, I have some students who say, I'm tired of messing with SQL and Access. I want to see what Oracle is like. If you have your own machine and you want to do it, then fine, okay? And I have a file over there that gives you some instructions for the details. And what you'll do if you choose to do it, is to download a baby version of Oracle. Okay, and you can get a chance to play that. And again, when you go out and you're interviewing for a job, if an employer says, have you ever worked or seen Oracle? You can honestly say, yes, I have, because in every one of these cases, we've seen the Oracle version of the code versus the access. So if you also want to see the interface, and the book also covers a lot of the graphic user interface for Oracle. Now you say, why do you keep harping on this? And I'm going to tell you the reason why. Everybody out there who graduates with a degree in business is a hot shot with Excel, and you guys are very good with it. But they usually don't know that much about databases. And that probably will be what will be something that sets you apart from another candidate. I know especially accounting students have often written me an email and said, I got a job with a bigger firm because I could do database work. Okay, and so I want you to have that step ahead of everybody. And frankly, they're changing everything so fast, it's in your best interest to know them anyway. Now, we talked about the SAS project, the Oracle, that's an alternative. To check your understanding, you've got an extra credit. And now you'll see why, you know, I'll just be here online during the class hours, the 3 hours, if you want to ask me a question. You know, and of course you can always send me an email, all right? And then, you know, and you'll know my office hours here at the school, and you know I post virtual office hours as well. So if you need to get a hold of me, you can. You know, I'm just not going to throw you out there and go, best of luck. Finally, let's talk about the final exam. Okay. Now I've got a screencast of instructions for final exam part A and B. And if you've had a course with me, you know that typically what I do is I'll have a project of some sort that's due at the start of the final exam period, and then quizzes that go through that 2 hours. Okay, same story here. I've got a part A and part B for one part A and one part B, and these are due no later than the start of the final exam period. Because we're at night, our final exam period is that May the 17th. I keep wanting to make it the 16th or the 18th, and I think it's just because my brain's gone dead. But it's the 17th, and the final exam period for this course is from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on the 17th. Now, as you've heard me probably say before, I do not believe it is a wise move to come in here and in 2 hours try to do all these 3 exams. I'd pick them off one at a time, okay? And you say, are you saying, as usual, do as much of this or get the thing out of the way and have it done? Yeah, okay? So I would, parts A and B are due at the start of the final exam period. C, D, and E are quizzes. I wouldn't try to do the quizzes. They're each 40 minutes. I wouldn't try it, okay? Especially if you're going to be working remote. If you work remote, okay, on this final exam period, you are out of luck. If you're in the system, that's a different story. So I would really encourage you, okay, as much as you can, work in the lab or work on the system here in the Wi-Fi or over at the library, and work ahead, because you know as well as I do, the labs, particularly over there in the library, get into crunch mode, okay? And if you need to do something in Access and you don't have it on your machine, then you got to get over here and do it, okay? Now, I want to look here for just a moment, and let me put it like this. I have a screencast of instructions for this, okay? And then I have some written instructions, okay? And, you know, part A is you're just basically going to go through the Patrick text and you're going to create a take-home portion for the final. Part A is you're doing a take-home exam out of the Patrick text over chapters 21 through 20, okay? And again, this is you're just going to build a database and true false questions. You're going to build a table. Okay, that really should not be a terribly significant problem for you. All right, now I want to go back over here for a moment. All right, and I guess they want me to go back into Canvas. I don't know why. Must have logged myself out. Okay. It's been one of those days. All right, let's go down here to, there we go. And we'll do Control F. And we'll go back down to week 11. And that was too far. Now, let's talk about that. And so you have that part A. Now, part B, okay, I have some instructions for you there as well. Okay, and as you would guess, I'm going to ask you to run a query. You're on the table you develop tables or table you developed in part A, and this will be a tour de force of every single kind of query you could ever want. And I have mercifully said, look here at this page, see these pages. Why? Because there will be an example of those. Okay. Now, would I say that this is exclusively an individual project? I'm not going to say that, because there is some work here to develop 100 questions and then to do all this work as well. So, yeah, I'm not going to go any further than that. I'm not going to penalize people if they try to work together. I'm okay with that. All right. I don't have a big deal about that at all. And so it's a fairly, there's a lot here to do. So I'm going to ask you a question.
So in terms of understanding the instructions for part A and part B, so we're making a database in part A, and then in part B, we are running queries from the database that we made.
Exactly.
So the database, we're just doing from scratch, and we can do whatever we want.
Yeah, and now you're going to need, when you do part A and you develop the tables, you're going to have to do some thinking about, okay, what kind of data has he asked me to input and what format, okay? And then once you've got the tables put together, then it becomes an issue of you running the queries. Now, some of these queries you'll be able to do using the graphic user interface. Others will require you to do some code. It's just going to depend upon where you're at. But part A is develop the table, okay? And then part B is harvest the data I want from that table using these particular types of queries as indicated by each page. Make sense? Okay. And I know it's a lot of items. So that's why I said if folks work together, I don't have a big deal about that, okay? Now, so I'm not going to get all revved up about it. Let's go back to the modules, but there is some work here. So I would say this, don't underestimate the amount of work you have, okay? That's why I'm gonna cut you loose as quick as I can, because I know if you come in, if you spend your time, you can get this out of the way and not have to mess with it, okay? And if you don't, well, okay, best of luck. I mean, I do what I can to help you out, and I know some of you are going to be hitting some courses where it's going to be rocky shoals, and so I'm wanting to try to give you an opportunity to show me what you can do, have a good experience, but at the same time, not beat you to death. You're going to get enough beatings near the end of the semester, as you well know. So there's no point for me to add on. Okay, I just don't feel like that I do you any justice by doing that. Then the last parts, C, D, and E, okay, are due. I'm more interested in getting you ready for your employment situation and being and having a head start on other people out there than proving showing you how much you don't know. Okay, trust me, this, especially the technology, it's changing so fast Okay, and now we know we have, and now we know we not only have the technological changes, the technical changes, but as if you've been watching the news or you follow the news, you know, the Congress has Mark Zuckerberg up there questioning him. Now, this is kind of a watershed thing. Most of you don't remember, but I guess early on, Microsoft was kind of becoming the behemoth that it is, and the Congress got concerned about antitrust, the aspects of Windows, where Microsoft would say, well, if you're gonna, they would be the exclusive operating system in machines, which meant everybody else was squeezed out. And then they would approve what applications people would add. And that's why Gates got hauled before the Congress and went through all of the stuff, okay? And now we have Zuckerberg going through the same thing, okay? And getting questioned and and Congress people, doing their posturing and their speeches and all of this. But by the end of this, here's what's going to happen. In order to operate in Europe, Facebook will have to meet the European standards, which are the highest in the world. And Europe's approach is, if you don't meet our standards everywhere, you can't be here. So they dictate to everybody. This is very similar to what they do with manufacturing processes. And I don't know how many had the production course with or the production project and production course, but one of the things you should cover is ISO 9000. And you say, what's ISO 9000? ISO 9000 was the first time where all of the countries in the European Union got together and said, they said, if you make anything, you manufacture anything, here are the processes you must follow, including safety and quality control. And so we're seeing social media reined in, just like this is a pretty historic moment. I would say it equates to what happened with Bill Gates. I would say it equates to what happened with the movies back in the 1930s, when the Congress put in the code in which they said you got too much gratuitous violence and sex, and the bad guys, you're glorifying gangsters, so the bad guy has to lose, and on and on and on. And so Hollywood had censors, and then applied that to the TV people, and then when television was developing programs for children, Congress stepped in and said, if you develop programs for children, you cannot sell stuff to kids. And so there used to be a whole lot of little local programs. When I was a little kid growing up, there was Foreman Scotty and people like that over Channel 4. They're gone, and that's why PBS has the niche it does today. So we're seeing a watershed moment with social media where we're about to see. Now, what's going to happen is, and this will be 20 years probably down the road, where somebody's going to say, it's my data, I'm selling it to you, okay? And that's going to be a real watershed time. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. Now, anyway, finals exams, parts C, D, and E. These are quizzes, okay? And they're from the Turbine text. That's the business intelligence text. And they're 20 points each, and you've got, 40 minutes, I think, for each of them. I would get them done long before that, okay? So that's kind of what you have going on. And if you wish, let me say this. What I will do is next week, I'll kind of come back over this in short order and talk about it, okay? So I'm trying to kind of get you where we are in the course and what's going on, and get you looking ahead. And what I'm hoping to do is, at the very latest next week, be in a position to say, okay, you're on your own. What that means is I'll be here, I'll be online, okay, and if people have questions, I'll try to answer them, but you should be working on your projects. Now, if you choose to work on it other times, That's up to you. Okay. Now we're going to talk about chapter. Let me say something. Robert raised his hand. Let me get that.
Yes, sir. I had a quick question.
Yes.
Would you mind explaining your Check Your Understanding project again, please?
Okay. Yeah. Let's go over to page 41 for just a minute, Robert. Okay.
Okay.
And this is in the SQL book.
Okay.
And there on page 41 is this thing that says check your understanding.
Okay.
Okay. And they give you a task to perform.
Yes.
Okay? So I want you to perform that task.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay. Now, did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, again, you say, okay, what am I going to work on? Well, what I would work on is the SQL fund that has all the tables. Got me? Did that help, Robert?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. And I've got the pages. There are pages for each one of those. Okay. I have the chapter in the page where that check your understanding is at. Now, you'll want to go back, and you probably would be smart, okay, to if you go through those, to think about the fact that there are examples around you that you can work with. Now, I think we've come along far enough down the road. For example, on this one, you're looking at pulling a couple of fields. One's description, one is price. And that description field, I'm going to ask you to use a column alias, and then use a column alias for the price column. And okay. And if you see over there, you'll see there back on 39, you'll see a nice example. Now it's a little bit more extensive, but you'll see there where they've used a simple select query, and then they have used created a column alias using as, and you can see those little notes there. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That help?
Yes.
Okay. Now, and I walk you through a whole series of those. I think there are 10 of them, and you'll see the chapter they're from, and what page. Okay. Anybody else have a question I can help with? Okay. Now let's talk about 16. Okay. And again, chapter 16, and if you go over it with me over to the contents at a glance page over on SQL fundamentals, you're going to see over there on chapter 16, starts at page 597, and they talk about cross joins, self joins, and cross tab queries. Okay. Now, when we start to look at cross joins and self joins, we move more and more towards a more and more work with tables and combining tables, okay, and then kind of stringing them together. If you look there on page 599, okay, you're going to see they give you the idea. They give you the definition of a cross join, which is also cross product, i.e., a Cartesian product, okay, and they give you and they define that for you. The columns in a cross join equal the sum of the number of columns in the beginning tables. We add those, and the rows are the product. You say, why is that important? Well, it's important because it becomes an issue of how much data we're harvesting. Okay? Now, tables, the columns in tables tend to be designed like this. The columns tend to be far fewer than all the rows because the rows are records. But as we get bigger and bigger tables, we tend to, of course, have greater and greater numbers of records. For some reason, a business need, whatever, we have greater and greater levels of specificity. So this notion of cross joins or Cartesian products is important because it's just more data points that we can collect. When you heard I watched some of the hearings, and the people in Congress were, the Congress people, the senators, they're beating on Mark Zuckerberg's head, and it was interesting because it's all about the law of large numbers. If you have the ability to join, 5,000 tables that have 2,000 rows, you can do the math. And the law of large numbers says the more data I collect and the greater my extractive ability, the greater my ability to go down and pull a whole bunch of data out and build profiles. And that's really what was going on. What was interesting, okay, was time and again as they were on him, he would say, it was really what it boiled down to is if you don't want to use this channel, go to the next channel or don't share. And they didn't want that, okay? And, who knows what, hopefully it's just a political exercise and Facebook will be chasing enough that they'll go out and take care of some of this stuff themselves. But again, as we move into this, it's important to understand how and why you can get a dashboard on your machine at work that will give you data, that will give you the results of millions of data points. And we do this as we move into cross joins. Now, if you look down at the bottom of page 5 now, let's go ahead and we'll get started with that. And then what you should do is go ahead and download those files, the Access SQL code for the specific chapters, okay? And go ahead and download that. And then download the SQL fun. And as usual, we're going to blow in some code and see what happens. Okay? And that's why. So I'm going to go over here and we're going to look at chapter 16. Now, don't forget, you will want to save this. And I'm going to here's what I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this SQL file and I'm going to copy it on my desktop and then I'm going to paste it. Okay? And I'm going to call it Harmon, Keith, and I'm going to put LD16. Okay? And I've renamed it, and then I can upload it. Now, I want to open up the code for that chapter 16. And we'll take a look at it. Now, here they give us some Oracle SQL, but we're going to look at 16.1, okay? And they give us this here at the bottom of page 599, okay? Now, here's what we're going to do. And here's one of the things you'll notice. When we start to use pseudonyms, especially for tables, our ability to manipulate them becomes so much easier because we can keep them arranged, frankly. And as we move through, we can get more and more in terms of data of what we want. Now, I want to show you, we're going to look right here, okay? And, pardon me, and we're going to select these columns. And now they show us a select there, okay, for A and B, and then from 1 to 2 in A, and from 1 to B, and we ended off. So let's grab this, okay, and we're going to throw it in here. I'll click create. Let me move this on over here, and we'll do the query design, and we'll go down here, and we'll run it, okay. And there we are. All right. Now let's go back for just a moment, and we'll go down to the design graphic user interface. Here we have the two tables A and B. Okay, and we've identified them as such. Now to do this, we have to write some code because we have to write code to get the pseudonyms for the tables. So we'll go on down to the SQL view. All right, and it's pretty simple. I'm going to select everything from A. I'm going to select everything from B. Okay, and then I identify column, then I identify A, and then I identify B, and I end the query with a semicolon. Now, let's look at this for just a minute and look at the result set. And if you see over on page 600, if you flip to the next page, and you ought to have your book open, you're going to see, okay, that the columns 1 to 2 table and the columns 3 to 5 table. And then as you begin to look at the result table, you're going to see where things come from. Those first four are from the F column 1. Then we have 4 more, okay, from the column 2. And so when you get those 20 there, there are 20 of them there. As you go through them, you'll see you'll see where we've pulled them and what tables we pulled them from. So we combined the tables and we did a cross join. Okay. And if you think about it, we had 2 columns. Pardon me. We had 2 tables that had 5 columns. Okay. So we had 5 columns, and then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had between them 20 data points. Because remember, if you go back over and you look at the Cartesian math over on page 599, the rows in the cross join, that's multiplicative. The sum of the number of columns in the beginning tables, that's additional. Okay? Now, other than this being something arcane, by the way, let's just go ahead and say this puppy is 16.1. Okay? This tells us how much data we can collect, okay? And again, the law of large numbers dictates that the more data I gather, all right, the greater the chances I'm going to get something that's of use to me in terms of a profile or whatever. It's the same thing as going fishing. You know, if you go fishing and your life's dream is to get a 30 or 40 pound catfish, then if you go to a lot of lakes in Oklahoma and you fish down by the dam, which is where they tend to be, if you do it enough times, you're going to get a catfish. It will be an unforgettable experience because they are strong boogers and pretty good eating, not too bad at all. But again, you gotta do it. Your chances of getting them are going to be pretty slim if you don't get out and fish. It's the same thing mining for data. Okay, so we've got this result table. Okay, and notice we've got the 5 rows. Okay, 5 columns, excuse me, and we've got 20 data points. Okay, and now if we wanted to, these are just meaningless, iterations of numbers and letters, but these could be authentic records that would be important to us. So that's 16.1. Okay. Now there's a pretty decent job of talking about Cartesian products and why they're important over on 601. Okay. Then they talk about an inner join, and that's over on page 602. And let's go over to the code, and we're going to get the code for 16.3. Okay. And we're going to do an inner join. And this is where what we're going to do is we're going to take a table and create it. I'm going to do query design, and we're going to replicate it, and then we're going to harvest data from it. Okay, and let's see what we get here. Now, we started off at the beginning tables with fruits and colors. Okay, And then we get the cross join of the two tables, all right? And we do that step, and he has us do the step one. Now I think we've done, let's see if we've done the 16.3. I want to make sure we have. Okay, okay, that joins wrong. Here's what he wants us to do. Let's go down to 5. 3 is okay, but 5, let's play with it for a minute. And we're going to where the lunch ID is 2. And we got a correct result. It's just not what we're wanting. And then we'll run it. What am I up? Yeah, I need to put the S for select. There we go. Now, let's call this would be 16.5. And I'm wondering if he's got an output there. If not, we'll talk through it. And then I'm going to say 16.3. So we've done 16, 1, 16.3, 16.5. On page 602, all right, he walks us through the beginning tables here, and we should get this. We form the cross join of two tables. Now, I want to look at this for just a second. Okay, and we're going to assign the true or false, and then we get that result set. So I want to see if he's giving us the code or he's just showing us as an example. Because what we've got here, okay, we've got the fruit. I'm going to look here at this other 16.5 or 6. And then he moves with car type. I'm not quite sure what in the world he's doing there. But, okay, let's look at this for just a minute. We're going to get the fruits. Okay. On 16.3, it's pretty simple. He's doing the join on the numbers. For table A, it's F number, and that's that right column in table A in the fruits. And then for the colors table, it's the number, okay, and he has it's the C number. So he joins them, and you can see the F number, okay, and the C number color, and then the fruit. And that's what we should get. Why we don't get that, I'm not sure. I'll have to just take a look at that. But that's theoretically what we should get from that, because we're doing the join. I'm sorry, question? I was looking at the results step of the steps there in 602 and 603. Okay. Now, I can tell you just looking at the step 1 there, and I'm not sure where he's come up with all this, but what we've done is we've done a join, okay, on these tables where we've pulled and we've linked them on the numbers, and then he has us keep only the rows that evaluate as true. So I want to look at these for a minute, because he's talking now about running some. He's talking about running some conditional statements, and that's got me a little bit wigged out here, because I'm going, huh? Okay, is wrong. Okay, this one's supposed to be correct. This one, it says 16.5, the join is correct. There's a section from the dual. Let's run this and see what we get. And here what we're doing is we're going to get, and the lunch IDs too. So I forgot about the fact that he gets a little arcane. So let's click create, and we'll do the query design. We'll close that. We'll do the SQL, and let's run that and see what we got. We got lunch ID, supplier ID, product code, quantity. Where in the world he's getting this? I have no idea where he's getting this stuff. Now 607 has no. We get the supplier ID. Okay. Okay. So, this query we just ran, let's call it 16.6, and let's talk about it for just a minute. Okay. I forgot that he kind of torpedoes us when we get in the middle of this chapter. I have to go ahead and take a look at that. Now, okay, I know this. Looking at the one at the query at the top of that join at the top of page 607 is incorrect because the product code's not included. Okay, I can see that. Let's look at this here. Yeah.
Why, in this case, does the product code need to be the same?
Well, because we, in order, we're matching them up on, we're going to match them up on product code, and that's what we didn't include it in the join, and we need to include it. If you look here, okay, we've got the lunch ID, okay, and I'm looking at the incorrect table result. The table runs, it's just not correct, okay. And the supplier ID is there. We have product code, okay, and we have description, we have price, and we have quality. But the product codes aren't included, is not included in that join, okay, and so it gives us an incorrect result. Now at the bottom of page 607, they show you the correct version, okay, where we link them on supplier ID and product code, and then lunch ID equals 2, and you'll see that highlighted there, and that's because we're wanting to link them on that. And then you can see the results set over on page 608. So, and remember this chapter, one of the things I always try to tell everybody is, because the query runs and it gives us some data, we should never just accept that it's correct. We always want to go back and look at the results and say, did we get what we wanted or what we were after? And if you look at the incorrect result table in 607 and you compare it with the 608, you'll notice that the table in 608 is much at the top of 608 is much smaller, and that's because we did the join and we extracted the data. Okay, that's just one of those things that you would just kind of get as we go along. Now, over on pages 609, 610, he walks us through listing possible combinations. So let's go into the code he's given us, okay, and let's go find 16.6. And here we're going to select a car type. Now let me go ahead and put the format up here and put the font up a little bit larger, which I should have earlier, and I apologize. Make it a little bit easier for us all to see before we mess with it. Now, if you look at the bottom of page 608, we've got these, we have two tables. We have a car type, okay, and we have the color. Now these are tables, they're one column, they're unidimensional, but they are tables. They have a column or a dimension or a variable, and then they have a list. Okay? Now, as he shows us at the top of page 609, I could put them into a two-dimensional grid or an array where I've got the color, okay, and then I've got the type of car. And then we could use a cross join to get the possibilities for each of those. Okay, now they're doing it with cars, but this could be, you know, yeah. Let me give you a wild example. A pharmaceutical company that has lists of products and interaction results. Bad. If they take these two drugs together, they will have a problem. And so you're gonna build that array and that grid and then do the join. Now I could be simply, if I have a simple thing, I go, okay, can I get a Ford in white? Yeah. Can I get a Ford in red? Yep. Can I get a Ford in green? And we would look over here and we'd say, okay, Ford is a white. Yeah. Oh, I can't get it in a red. So I put an X in the white. The Toyota, can I get it in a white? Nope, but I can get it in a red. Or I guess I can get it in a white. Okay. And they give us, you know, he gives us the cross join. So let's go ahead and just run that. Those tables he gives us are a little deceiving. And we'll click Create, Redesign, and we'll close this off. This chapter is one of the most promising, but at times most frustrating chapters in this whole thing. Now here we are, okay, and we can get the car type is Chevy, and I know I can get a Chevy, I guess, in a red, a green, and a white. I can get a Ford in a red and a green and a white. Okay, I can get a Toyota in a green, red, and white. And I get a Volkswagen in green. So we did we joined the tables. Okay, and so we're going to call this 16. We'll call this 16.7. Save it as that. Now it's a little deceiving, but you know that array assumes we have all of those. We have those models of vehicles or car types, and then we have those colors. Okay, and then he gives us the table with 12 rows. Okay, and we have 2 columns. Okay, and we end up with 12 rows. Now he comes down here and he starts to, in page 609 he gives us the number of doors in the vehicles. This is over on page 610. And so we got the car types table and the colors table, and then, well, we've run that basically. But okay, but he's showing us when he had the number of doors on those vehicles. And over there on page 611, you'll see two-dimensional. He's got a two-dimensional table with 2-door cars, 4-door cars, and then one table that lays everything else. Now, to see the process unfold, okay, he tells us to avoid a large cross join of large tables, a cross join of large tables. So you'll see on page 613, you'll see the beginning table 1 and 2. Okay, then you're going to see the second step where we extract the data of those 2 tables. Then a third step where we get the result table, and this just becomes a product of it becomes a series of iterations till we get the result table, and we've extracted the data. It's a good illustration of why people call this data mining. Okay, and he asks us, why would I link a table with itself? It's simple. I can harvest some data and get some insights I might not ever have. And he walks us through that over on page 614. Okay, the key, as he mentions in the middle of 614, is that we give each table an alias. Okay, A dot, asterisk, B dot asterisk, it could be C dot, whatever. Then we multiply those data points, and we can often get some insights. And he shows us this over there on page 614, 615, 616. Okay, and I'm walking you through a lot of this because a lot of this stuff is more conceptual than just grinding some code through. he shows you an example of a self join. Here we have a table, okay, or an array that has, and I'm on page 616 in the middle of it, the employee's ID, okay, the last name, the phone number, and the manager ID, okay? So what we have is employee ID information and manager information linked together. And so he shows us here at the bottom of 614, okay, we get the first, and he's walking us through the process as the machine handles it. We get the first copy of the employees table, okay, and then the second copy of that table, and it pulls out, and it links up manager and employee, right? So I think, and sometimes he strains a little bit here and beats us to death with it, but 1610 is nice. Here's what's going to happen at the bottom page 617. You're going to select the employee ID, the last name, the phone number, the boss's last name as a manager name as an alias, a boss's phone number as a manager phone number, and we're going to get that from the employees table, and we identify the employees table. It's alias is imp, okay, and then they do a left outer join. So what we do is we get everything from the employees table, and we get we get everything from okay, we get all that stuff from the employees table. Then we do a left outer join, okay, where we get everything from the employee's boss, okay, and anything that matches on the employee, okay, and they show us there in that last line on the where the employee manager or on employee manager ID equals the boss employee ID. So he kind of flips and reverses the thing and does an outer join on, and then he orders it, okay. Now let's take a stab at 1610 and just see what it looks like, and we'll run it from the wild here. And you say, this is kind of looks like a lot of work, and it is. I won't lie to you, which is one of the reasons why, okay, when you're at work, and I'm going to say this to you over and over again, you may get a lot more insights by taking a data set that you pulled from a database and throw them into Excel and play around with them in pivot table than you will in writing some code or trying to run the code or go into the graphic user interface and do some work there. Simply because Excel is just so much easier to work with, okay? And the whole thing here is you want information. You've got data, and you need to get information from it. So we're going to copy this in, and you hear me say that over and over and over, and I cannot emphasize that enough to you. Pivot table is a fantastic tool, and there are a lot of commercial products out there like it, but for my money, it still is the best. And I can't remember how many cases it can handle or how many rows or columns. I just don't remember that. But I can assure you, if you really, it's just so much more intuitive than trying to mess with some of this. Now, here's the result set. I'm going to call this 1610. Okay. And we'll save it as such. Now, okay, and again, let's walk through it at the bottom page 617. I selected all of these items from the employee table, okay, and the boss table. I gave manager name and manager phone. Those are column aliases, okay, and then and I got those from the employees table, okay, and then I did a left outer join, and I used the table, the employee's boss and I did the join on the employees manager ID, and the boss employer ID, employee ID. And so we did the left join. So we got everything out of that that employee boss table, employee boss table, and then anything in the employee table, employee manager table that matched. That's a mouthful, but you can see that, and you can go back and trace it and see the beginning tables and the ending tables. Now, as is the case sometimes, you will get a lot of null data if you haven't had good table discipline, and this is a great example of it. Unless you're wanting to exclude some stuff, you'd want to be asking yourself some questions. Why is this person, was there nothing in here for this person? And you'd want to explore that. If it's done well, you're going to have few, if any, of these. And this is probably just a question of table discipline where you didn't require stuff to be entered. No, who knows? Or you allowed null data to be in there. Over on page 619, okay, he has us create a sequence of events. And let me tell you what, it's some serious fun. I believe that in one of my merciful moments or lucid moments in life, I think I went and created, I think I got some code for that we could throw in here. Let me look up here and see. I believe I did one time. And it's probably just in here and I'm just not seeing it, finding it. But it's going to be, I'm going to do a quick search here. It's going to be 16, 19 maybe, 16:9. I don't find anything. Oh, well, 16:11. Here we are. All right. Look and join me in worshiping the code. This was one of these where all of you can't see it, but if I held my book up and I did the video, and those who are here with me physically can see my handiwork where I fought through this. So we're going to download. This is a text file, so let's download it. And this may be a moment for me of great triumph or bitter disappointment and embarrassment. Who knows? Let's see what happens. But this was to get all of that, because there's a lot of, over on page 619, that sequencing of events, there's just a lot of mistaken code in there. So let's go ahead and click create. I'll do the query design. I'll do the SQL, and let's see. I will run it. Voila. Now, trust me, I spent some time going, what? I had to work through it to get the sequencing down. Yeah. Did you get yours to work?
It's saying that there's something missing on the spelling or something on the punctuation, and then it's highlighting this one section. So I'm assuming it's saying that that's what they're.
Okay. Make sure you go back over and make sure you download the notepad, and you'll want to check line by line on the code. And I'll run it again. Just to make sure that we're good. And I'll create. Query design. You may have miscopied or something there. And I'm going to run it. Yeah. Now what this does is it gives you a secret, okay? It gives you a sequence of events. Now, lot of what he's got there on page 619, okay, is messed up. And there are any one of a number of corrections that I had to make. Now I'm going to call this, I'm going to call it 1611. Did you get yours to run?
I think I fixed the error that I
Okay.
gave you a new one.
Okay.
So I'm fixing it again.
All right. Now, what you might want to do if you have the time would go to and take a look at the SQL, okay? And I'm going to grab that text file, the notepad for 1611. I'm going to format it up so you can see the font. I'll take it back up here to an 18. There is a lot of work that had to be done to salvage this thing so that it was usable. And you can go line by line. For example, there, okay, on well, the character that you had to get rid of that function because it doesn't fit. We had to put single quotes around the hour, okay, and the minute for the access. So we had just A time done in an hour. Same thing for B time done. And then notice here, when I did this operation, I had to round this off to get it to, I had to use the round function, okay, to take the time done, B time done versus A minus A time. Did you get it run? Yeah, good. Now, and you'll see I did a math, I had to use the round function to take the B time done minus the A time done. And then I took that times 60 times 24, and I got that, and I gave it, of course, an alias as the times elapsed, as the minutes elapsed, underscore time, and I got that from the events A, and then events B. So I took table SEC 11, section 1611 underscore events, and that was table A, and then the same table was B. And then I took out where the sequence number plus 1, this is A dot sequence number plus 1 equals B dot sequence number. And I ordered them by A dot sequence number. And you could see that as you go back up and you take a look here in the data view. So trust me, there's a little bit of commotion there to get that done. But it was my challenge to get it done. I do not give you anything like this on your check your understandings. No, I would not do this. No way. Okay. Now, over on page 622, you're going to see where he has you put data in a table. When I see something like this, it makes me want to cringe, because what you're really doing there is you're just running a series of inserts when so you're writing code when you ought to be putting this stuff into a table via a form. But the author is old school and he wants you to see, okay, how to do this. Now this reminds me a little bit long ago, when I was up at Webster in St. Louis, I was working on my master's in finance, and we had an IRR, internal rate of return problem, trust me, the bane of all human beings, and we had to do at least 100 iterations by hand, which was not fun. So when Excel developed IRR and multiple IRR, I bowed and worshipped. And if you've had the pleasure of doing IRR, it's easy to chart. It's the point where the return and NPV are zero, where they intersect. The math is the hard part, and it'll drive you nuts. It's like long division if you got to do any of that, the bane of other human beings. But again, you'd be putting these data, and then it just shows you the created table. Okay. Oh, enormous waste of your time. Now, he has us create a table of numbers from 0 to 99. And so he has us do this step 1, step 2, step 3. Yes.
The thing that we have in the Access SQL Word text box, that's actually, because I tried it and it didn't work, and it's the instructions for the Oracle one. So rather than number 1, you actually have to put in.
Yeah, right. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, you're right about that. The number table. Let's see if we can find that code in there. You're right. And I've done that. Now, so we did the event. There's all those inserts and a table of numbers. Now, that up there on page 623, the create table. Okay, he's using Oracle. Okay, and so you don't want to do that. You want to do the select. So we're going to come down here and we're going to order these by 1 instead of invoking the create table numbers. We're going to do select, and then we're going to use my numbers 0 to 9. If the table's in there, maybe it is, maybe it's not. But what we would do is we'd run the join on them, okay, and we do the join with using the operation. Let's see what happens. It probably will blow up in our face because we didn't go through all the little gyrations, but at least we can kind of understand what he's doing. And again, this is the stuff of, I frankly doubt you'd want to do this ever in your life, and neither would I. Yeah, because we hadn't created, we did parameter because we hadn't designed that. Okay. Okay, and I don't want to save it. Okay, so he walks us through the Oracle step 1 and Access step 1, and Oracle and Access step 2, and all of this to create a table of numbers. Now let me say this. I'm going to sound like a simplistic idiot. Frankly, if you want a table of numbers, here's what I would do. I'd go into Excel, and I'd start I'd put in cell A1. And then I would use the serial function in Excel to take it from 1 to 999 with an increment of 1. And then I would import it into the database. I don't know that your time is going to be valuable enough to sit there and play around with all of this. Now,
so are you wanting us to actually do step 2 on that? Because that's not one.
No, because step 2 is just it's just rote work, basically. It's, yeah, I would, see, if you're going to do that, you'd have a form, because you can get everything done with a form. That's why the form's important. Otherwise, right here, you're just inserting data, and that's just rote work. You guys are paying way too much money to go out and be a clerk, and you won't be. You're getting paid to go out and be managers and decision makers. And so what you're doing here is you're just inputting numbers. That's why each one of those is a query. It's an insert into a table. So you create the table, okay, and he created a table, my numbers, and the format's going to be digits with small integers, okay. and then you begin to put the data in there. And you want it to go all the way to 999, which is, in my mind, utter insanity if you really need to do that. If you needed a table of constants like that, go over to Excel, and create the table, and then pop it in here. Don't go through all of this. It's an enormous waste of time. Now we're going to come to my favorite part of Access in this textbook, where he talks about crosstab queries in Access. Okay, and this is over on page 624, and he has you create 3 columns of data, and then he has you use the crosstab query in Wizard, the crosstab query wizard in Access. I hate it. I don't like it. I don't use it. Okay, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I use the pivot table in Excel. I just don't like the feeling and the look of it. There are other people who are comfortable using it, which is fine. Okay, and if I click up here and create, you can see, if you want to do a crosstab query, it's up there for you to do. Okay, and he shows you that over on page 625, where if you click the create, and then you can start to do your crosstab query, and you've got the query wizard, or you can do some. Let me find that SharePoint with the query wizard. Oh, I think in Hatred, I left it off mine. I think you need to add it in to the into the options. It just gives me the heebie-jeebies. I just don't work. It doesn't work well for me. And if you're working with something that doesn't work well for you, let it be. Okay, just leave it be. You're getting paid to make decisions. Now, we'll take a look at it. And so let's go back over here, and we'll go over here to this thing that says 16. It says 1630. Oh, we don't have it, do we? Thank goodness. Okay. Well, you've heard my spiel about that. And he walks you through some graphic user interface of the query wizard. And I don't like it. And that's pretty much it in terms of 16. He said, boy, there wasn't a whole lot of coding. No, because with cross joins, the question becomes, how many tables do I have? All right. And how many dimensions do I have? Now, over on page 631, for example, he shows you create data, but there's no text file. He has you you'd have to hard code the data. Okay. And again, if you want to play around with the crosstabs, it's fine. I don't like it. Now, question.
I'm now very confused.
Okay.
So we have a whole bunch of crosstab stuff in Access.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have code for it. And then for tabs 18 and 19, those are crosstab in Oracle, and we have the Oracle SQL.
Exactly.
It doesn't have an Access
No.
SQL. So
No, he doesn't. I wouldn't mess with them. I wouldn't. I don't want you guys to do a bunch of hard coding, because what will happen is the only hard coding you should be doing is on those check your understandings, where it's limited enough that it's not going to drive you nuts. Okay, but on these you'll be tearing your hair out. If you want to see an example, there's page 633. And again, now I'm gonna click create, and then query wizard. Okay, and once I click the query wizard, here's the crosstab wizard. I only say this in fairness. There are a lot of people that are comfortable with this. I'm just not. I don't like it. I have to say I'm an old person, and I like pivot tables. I don't like the crosstab in here. But you know, if you want to play around with it a little bit and just mess with some of this stuff, go ahead. Okay? And please feel free. Here the view you can get from labels, you can get from queries, or if you want to get from both. And then you just begin to build the columns and the rows. All right? And I just think it's clunky. And I think for the results you get, you'd probably be better off working with pivot tables. That's just me. Okay? So this chapter is really more conceptual than it is just a lot of grind them out code stuff. Okay? And the whole notion is, all right, when I'm really using cross joins as I should, when I'm really exploiting the idea of a Cartesian product, I'm going to use as many table aliases as I can. I'm going to use as many column aliases as I can. And then I'm going to find that matching field where I join everything. And then typically, I'm going to begin a process of an extractive process from that big glob of data that I've got. And that's why I said if you pop over to where he walks us through all of that example, really at the start of the chapter, okay? And I'll just pop back over there real quickly. There, page 612 and 13. 613 really is I'm more interested in understanding, okay, what's happening there in 613. You're not going to be writing code. Now, some of you may be very comfortable. And if you want to play around with the cross tabs and access, you're not verboten, you're free to do it. For me, again, I'd use the pivot table. I'd export the data. But you'll notice what's happening in 613, okay? We select the rows we want from each beginning table, okay? And here's the thing, is the beginning table 1 and beginning table 2 can be the same table, but given an alias, or it can be 2 different tables. That's what makes this such a powerful tool. And then we create the cross join, okay? And then we extract the data that we want. Information is a lot like it's a lot like oil. It's a lot like petroleum. It's a lot like coal. It's like a lot of naturally occurring things out there that we have to refine to get use from it. Okay, and so it's the same thing with information, because information is data that I've extracted that I can put into an understandable form that enables me to make a decision. So if you say, well, okay, in 16, what should I get? 1613, it's page 613. If you get that, in my mind, if you get that, you probably have about 95% of this course, because most people don't see this, okay? They don't understand this. Now, the second thing, and that fits with this, okay, is table discipline. This was why you hear me talk about it should be required. If not, don't have it in there. Put it in the right format. If you have good table discipline, everything will flow from there. If you don't, you will get junk, and you'll get a bunch of null data and bad records. But it's like most things, it starts with doing the simple things right, and it starts with building the tables. Okay. Now, right now, you guys know 95% all the business people out there who don't really get what's happening, okay? And they don't understand because, for a variety of reasons, but our ability to take tables and our ability to extract stuff down, okay, enables us to really target things. And if you've been watching the thing with Zuckerberg where he's getting chewed out by the people in Congress, they keep saying, you can tell, everything about me. Yep. And when you stop for a moment and you say, they know everything about me, that's an astounding change from 40 years ago or 30 years ago, when you could go change your name, go to another part of the country, and never be seen or heard from again, and nobody would know. Now you can go on Google and find out about anything and everything you want to about people, okay? And you can go to Facebook and harvest data and all that. There's the good part of that is if I'm a marketer, okay, or I'm trying to catch bad people, it's a beautiful tool. If I'm wanting to annoy people, or I'm the Russians wanting to disrupt an election, it's like any tool. It's got its good uses and it's got its bad uses. So that really is the heart of chapter 16. So now, again, after I've given my after I've condemned, the crosstab query wizard, again, you come in here, you click the query wizard, you choose the crosstab, you click on query wizard, then you choose crosstab query wizard, okay, and you go and then you begin to fill in the columns and the field and the columns and the rows that you want. Now I'm going to say this. Here are two things that I think are absolutely beautiful. This finding duplicates. This is an excellent tool because it's very simple. I like that tool. I also like where it finds missing records or unmatched records. I'll go back to the query wizard. Okay, and if I've got 10,000 records, it's a nice little tool for me. But in the simple query wizard, it's what it is. But for me, it's clunky and I don't like to use it. You may want to explore it and you may go, oh, it works good for me. If it does, the main thing is that you get the information you need for the decision. So we've pretty much done 16, and I've done a whole lot more talking than running queries, simply because this chapter is probably one of the most important chapters in the book, if it's not. Okay, now they kind of give you a picture of this. If you go take a look at page 632, and they're walking you through running a query with 4 dimensions. Okay, you say, well, how many dimensions can I build? In other words, columns, i.e. fields, as many as your server will handle. How many records can I get? As many records. When you think about it, Facebook, I think, has 2 billion users. An incredible amount of data. And and the ability, the ability for people to go search advertisers, to go find out, who to target ads to or stuff like that. This is the heart of it, where they're harvesting those, they're pulling those dimensions and cross-joining them over and over and over, extract, and then they might do another extraction phase, and they take all those extractions, put those together, and do so finely tuned. It really is targeted. This technology is amazing stuff, but it also poses some great challenges for us in terms of our privacy, okay, and in terms of it's really issues of privacy and you know, now it also involves human beings. The lady who went into YouTube and shot up YouTube, the New York Times had a profile of her, and you know, and they showed snippets of her videos, and I'm just thinking, if somebody wasn't looking at this, if this didn't hit somebody's radar, I'm not sure how, because she just wasn't. She was playing with one pair of dice, okay, or the dice she was rolling had no sevens. She was a very, very disturbed and angry human being. And her family went and told the authorities, and unfortunately didn't stop. But this ability to harvest data in this way and pull it down is just absolutely off the charts. And he walks you through some more crosstabs, all types of them. The coup de grace is over on page 644. That's the, if you take a look at page 644, he shows you a crosstab query, okay, and then a result table. Imagine that these are all people who are in records, and those dimensions are follows some hate group, has called the Middle East lately, or called the Baltic states lately, has gone online and searched out how to make a bomb. Okay, well, you can see all that right there in page 645. If you look over in 644, you can use the GUI to accomplish that. And so when you go to work at the very bottom, most of the time you'll be working with a GUI instead of running the code. But there's the result table. And if you look at that result table and you say, that looks a lot like a scatter diagram. Yep. And if you've had management science with me, where we did cluster analysis, and we found people, we did some cluster analysis to look at market segmentation. It's the same principle. Okay, so that's why this chapter really is more conceptual. Now, I've gone on here for well over, longer than your attention spans could handle. And again, you can see on page 647, 648, and 49 show you an Oracle crosstab query, a beginning table, a result table, okay? And notice the data are all distributed, and then you extract them down. Now, there's typically a ratio between first cut of a crosstabs or joins and the final extracted product. I'm not sure if it still holds, but it used to be that for every 50,000 records you could harvest, you would probably you'd extract down to maybe 50 useful records. So you have to crunch an enormous set of data. That's pretty much, he walks you through the key points on page 651. And so I would save this. I'd upload this as 16. Okay. And any question? No? I know those of you here are saying, how do I get out of this? This is like Dante's hell. I understand. And I've done a whole lot more ruminating tonight than we have just running code. But the conceptual part is what's important to get. So I'm going to close this, all right? And then I would upload it as my SQL fun LD16, and that will do it. Now I'll do chapter 17 sometime tomorrow or over the weekend, and then I might do 18 through the week, but I won't take a whole class period. I may just say, here's 18, take a look at the book and compare the two of them, because I want you to move on to doing your projects. Okay. All right, folks, I appreciate the time. If anybody else has a question, I'm happy to answer it. If not, I'm going to stop the share and get us out of here. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
All righty, thank you. Bye-bye. And we'll stop the recording.